stay that is not within the powers of the commission to state whether an agency of government is a revenue generating agency. So long as you're under the purview, so long as the federal government deemed it necessary to bring you under the schedule of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, you've been obviously determined as a revenue agency of federal government. So in that regard, I would also want to say that on the issue of the commission deciding whether police pays, it's not within our powers too, because as we speak, the Nigerian police is not under the schedule of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So, but however, it's good you note that the commission have been, from time to time, we've been making submissions, recommendations on the need to rein in and see how we can explore and possibly exploit some of these revenue openings with most of these agencies, whether they are force or whether they are paramilitary, because we are convinced, we've done our studies, we are very sure that most of the paramilitary and even the military, they also aim reasonable revenues that could come to the coffers. The argument is very straight. Whenever you are considering the appropriation, do you put those revenues which you can't really account for into consideration? If you ask me, most times than often, the answer is no. But for now, the commission does not have the powers or the mandate even to get into it. But like the case I cited of the Nigerian immigration, I'm aware that they remit certain sums. I'm aware. But our challenges with them is that, as we speak, Nigerian Immigration Service is yet to be able to be publishing their annual audited accounts, which is not acceptable. The provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act is very clear on that. That within 90 days of the end of each financial year, they are expected to submit the audited accounts. They've not been complying, and we've made several efforts to engage them. Just like you all observed some of the challenges of the Act, like the issue of sanction, we've tried to do some of our reports, we've tried to also engage, but we're bringing to fore the weapon of naming and shaming, to say it the way it is. And I think the time is now so that the government can be supported. A lot of revenue gaps, a lot of revenues are going into wrong hands. And I'm very happy that government is going to definitely take it very seriously. Does the FRC has the power to go to court when the act is flouted? The act is a special act. If you ask me, Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 is one of a very few that outside the doctrine of local standard. The doctrine of local standard said you must establish special interest, cogent enough to enable you file an action or bring an action before a competent court of jurisdiction. But this act, by section 51, made it very clear that by mere being a citizen of this country that you can ask questions. So, not just the commission, but also you and me can also go to court. I think there's one particular case. The irony is that I've only had a few instances. I think the last, I think it should be CSJ, Civil Society Group, Center for Social Justice, went to court on a particular issue that has to do with fixing of a debt limit of the 3 tiers of government. I think that's the only either individual or organization that have tried to explore or exploit Section 51. And I think it's commendable. The earlier we begin to look at this, it will help. Nancy Okoro tried to find out the issue of immigration. I hope I'm right. Whether they remit funds. We're already doing it. We've tried to engage them, we've written them, we've tried to engage them severally, and we're now conveying that to you. It's not usually our style to do that. Because the Act did not provide for any sanction. We have also done our reports on that. I think we came with some of our, I think we have some of our reports here. They should be distributed, and I think you also have a role to play here by men getting to know that this is the situation. The Immigration Service, there are some agreements, special agreements they have. They remit some parts, you know, because there are others, like a tripartite thing. But what we're saying is, for whatever that comes to you as a service, you should run in your 80% to the federal government. In any case, we are demanding that they must produce their annual financial statement. That was the case with custom before. Until we prodded the custom, in fact, the then CG, Controller General of Custom, had to visit Fiscal Responsibility Commission to thank us for prodding them to start. And Custom has been very prompt in submitting their annual financial statements and thereafter. So we also believe that we need support to rein in most of these agencies to do what is needed. Also, yes, we have a website. It may not be as active as you expect it, but we are getting there. We're improving. We have some challenges, but definitely our website is active now. Penalty. Musa spoke about penalty, efforts towards amendment of the Act. I can tell you that various efforts have been made. In the 7th Assembly, the amendment bill got to, in fact, it was fixed. At the point it was fixed for public hearing. Several times it has to be rescheduled. That was the 7th House, the 7th Assembly. The 8th Assembly, as we speak, is at the committee stage. But the good news is that the federal government, for the past few months, have come up with a proposed bill, which I believe, whenever it's tidied up, it will move faster than most of the member bills that have been pushing for the amendment of the Act. And I think the executive bill will be more encompassing, and I think it will touch at the fundamentals of some of the deficiencies of the Act. Yes, there have been consistent efforts to strengthen the Act, and we believe that sooner than later it will come to fruition. I think I want to thank you once again for the opportunity.
Okay.